And good afternoon, everyone on the East Coast. Good morning to those of you on the West. This is Eric Hill, Senior Vice President of Corporate Operations with Enterprise Wireless Alliance. Thanks so much for joining us for this webinar. We're going to be discussing today a new service that EWA has recently launched, and we really appreciate everybody joining. Looks like we've got about 125 people on the webinar, so we are going to, for purposes of audio quality, we're going to keep the conference on listen-only mode, so we will be entertaining your questions via the chat feature at the end of this session. But feel free, please, to submit your chat questions during the conference, and we'll be sure to try to get to all of them. Any that we can't get to before the webinar concludes at the top of the hour, we will be responding to offline, and we'll go ahead and post answers to all the questions and put that on our website. We are recording this webinar, so anyone who may have missed this, if it's colleagues of yours, or if you'd like to play it back, you'll be able to do that, and we'll push a note out to all of the delegates letting them know how to get to that recording. We'll try to leave about 10 or 15 minutes at the end for Q&A, so save up those questions, and as I said, put them in the chat feature. We'll be sure to get to them. I would like to introduce the presenters that are with us here today, and I would also like to let you know that we also have, first of all, Mark Crosby, our CEO, joining us on the line. Mark, your line is unmuted. Say hello.
Hello.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
Welcome all.
Principally, we're joined by three of our experts here at EWA, starting with Isla Dudley, who's Executive Vice President of Spectrum Operations. Isla heads up the group that is principally responsible for helping put this service together, and we'll be taking any questions you have over the coming days, weeks, and months if you happen to call us, email us, or visit our website. Also today you'll be hearing from Cecilia Hayes, who's Executive Director in Spectrum Operations as well, and also Denise Ibarra, who's Director of Spectrum Operations. So we're looking forward to presenting to you all of the cool information and facts about what this e-advisory is all about, how it can help you, and what it can do for you. But I tell you what, before we start, you know who we are. I'd kind of like to know who you are. So if you would please, if you are online with us in front of a computer, please let us know who you are, what sort of business is your primary function, and go ahead and click one of those buttons, one only please, and we'll go ahead and skip to the results in just a moment. It's helpful for us, certainly, because, and we'll get into this a little bit later during the webinar, it's helpful for us to know who you are because, of course, a large percentage of you who may be receiving this new e-advisory email will be from either our dealer members, perhaps users who are licensees, public safety or business industrial. So it's real helpful for us to know who you are. So let me go ahead and just skip the results. If you haven't voted yet, that's okay. Primarily, many of you are from our dealer members and clients, so we appreciate that. Network operators, thanks as well. Those of you users, looks like a horse race, tied neck and neck with network operators. Appreciate you joining, and certainly those of you who manufacture devices, engage in software development and consulting, happy to have you as well. So without further ado, let me go ahead and turn the microphone and the clicker over to Isla Dudley. And in fact, I'm going to advance the slides while Isla provides her perspective on what this is all about. Isla?
Thank you, Eric. Hi, I'm Isla Dudley. I'm with EWA since 1974, and I'm the Executive Vice President, Spectrum Operations. We here at EWA are really excited about the e-advisory best practices that launched May 13th of 2014, and hopefully you all have had an opportunity to receive one and have viewed the co-channel sharing report that's part of that. Our team spent a lot of time ensuring that the information that's contained in this e-notification was accurate and also provided in a timely manner for you. This all really originated back between 2012 and 2013, discussions within LMCC, which is the Land Mobile Communications Council, regarding how best to manage emerging technology within the existing environment, specifically related to digital and analog systems. Our service is currently relevant only for the VHF and 512 megahertz bands, and Cecilia will explain in a little more detail what actually will trigger this e-notification for you, and we'll explain more about the data sets within that. But currently it is available for that. Don't expect to receive one for renewals or notice of construction because of the way our program was designed to handle new filings and modifications to applications. So as we get further into this, Cecilia will give you more information on that. Our goal with this, although there was a lot of energy and ideas that went into this, but our goal was to help educate our licensees and the communications providers about providing relevant information for their specific system obligations. Obligations meaning, will they be operating in a shared environment, or do they have a protected service area? Do they have to monitor? Who will they be co-sharing with? And again, this is the information that Cecilia will go through shortly. You can expect to receive these notifications, again, not for renewals and NTs, but for the industrial business applications as well as public safety applications. Our public safety applications, the EWA was approved to certify applications in the special emergency pool, as well as we have within the last few years also been certifying public safety applications where there was narrow banding involved, as long as it was analog to analog or digital to digital. So you should expect to receive these notifications for those type of applications going forward. With that, I will now turn the floor over to Cecilia Hayes. And Cecilia, if you'll please identify yourself and give a little bit of information.
Okay, hi. I'm Cecilia Hayes, Executive Director of an EWA Spectrum Solutions Department. I've been a member of EWA staff since September of 1997, and I'm elated to be part of the team. My role today is to educate you about EWA's e-advisory. The advisory is sent within an hour after EWA receives the FCC ULS file number providing notification of the type of system that EWA certified on behalf of you or your clients. The notification will go to both the contact and the applicant if email addresses are provided. The letter describes technical parameters of the proposed system, applicable FCC rules, as well as a link to allow you to request a free code channel report. You may ask yourself why or what is the value of this code channel sharing report. It's an excellent question, and I'm glad you've asked. It allows applicants to optimize spectrum efficiency, both digital and analog systems. How does it do that? The report provides critical details about the licensee spectrum environment, such as the incumbent licensee name, call sign, ULS file number, if the system is for private, internal, or commercial use, if the spectrum is shared or exclusive, if it's conventional, trunked, digital, analog, voice, data, or both. We'll address this in more detail after Denise Sabera explains why this is helpful to you. So I'm going to turn it over to Denise now. And Denise, if you'd go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Denise Ibarra, Director in EWA Spectrum Solutions Department. At this point, many are probably wondering why you should care about the report or how this report may benefit you. Majority of the systems that EWA certifies are in a shared environment, and this report will basically help the licensee and the dealer understand what they're authorized to operate in accordance to the licensing code that they have requested. When coordinating, there are many different factors as well as FCC rules and regulations that we take into consideration, such as incumbent system loading, distance, the network technologies, and in order for us to achieve the maximum spectrum efficiency, We also look at analog systems sharing with digital systems, voice systems sharing with secondary data systems. We have trunk systems out there sharing with conventional systems, and also private carriers with private internal systems. EWA bases their certification on active license records found in the FCC database. And we believe that customers and dealers and licensees are more in tune with the operational environment, and basically this report will help identify who you're co-sharing with. You're able to see what we're looking at, and you'll also be cognizant of the technology surrounding you. Cecilia will show you exactly what you'll be receiving on every new and modified coordination that EWA certifies.
Denise and team, if I may make, excuse me for interrupting, one comment on this screen. I don't want the audience we have on the screen that analog systems sharing with secondary digital systems. Digital systems are by their very nature not secondary. I think what we're trying to explain here is that the data systems, the analog systems we're sharing with data systems, those data systems on primary voice channels would be secondary. And that information, secondary to the voice operations, and that information I think most of you know. But it's useful to know that when you have a customer or your system's going to be on a system, the data will reveal that there are secondary data systems on that channel, and we think that's good information for you to know. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Okay, I think Denise is going to turn it back over to me now, Eric, so if you want to go ahead and go to
talking about it.
Okay, well, okay. I'm going to be talking about the sample letter that you will receive, which is the advisory notice. And the letter will go to, it provides applicant licensing name, the agent or service provider's name, the EWA log number, the ULS file number, a system description, applicable FCC rules, channel sharing report link, as well as EWA's representative's email and telephone number should you have any questions with regards to your application that was recently filed on your behalf. There are many different types of systems. There are IG radio service, which lets one know whether the system is in the industrial business pool, and it's for conventional use. YG radio service is a trunked use in the industrial business pool. PW, if you happen to see one of those, that's in the public safety radio service, and it's for conventional use. There are station class codes such as FBMO, which is for private internal use, simplex operations, where monitoring is required. Okay. FB2MO is for private internal use, single user repeater, monitoring required. FB6MO6, commercial use, communication service provider, monitoring required. FB8MO8 is for private or commercial use, exclusive use, and no monitoring required. So if you were to look at your system description, the application that's up on the monitor right now is basically saying that this is a conventional industrial business user. It's also telling me that their station class code is FB2MO, which is a single user repeater, where they would be required to monitor, and the spectrum was shared. The station class code, FB2MO, that basically tells us that they had a fixed site with associated mobiles and a mobile-only system under this one call sign. The frequency is shared. The spectrum is shared. There are many different types of emission designators. There are 12.5 emissions, which were the 11K2F3E analog voice, the 11K2F1E, which is digital voice, the 11K2F1D, digital non-voice, 11K2F2D, which is digital tone, There are also the 7K60FXD, which is the TDMA digital, and the 7K60FXE, which is digital voice. 6 1/4 emission designators are 4K00F1E, which is digital voice. A 4K00F1B is digital non-voice. P25 emission designators are the 8K10F1E and an 8K10F1B. So basically looking at this, we know this system, as I said before, is allocated in the industrial business pool, private commercial use. It is digital, voice and data, repeater, and mobile only. Below, you will see the applicable rules. It's telling us that this system has to identify itself with the station identification. It's telling us that the spectrum is shared and that you are required to monitor. So, Eric, if you want to go, if you look in the letter, in the body of the letter, you'll see the channel sharing report. You can click on that and it will provide a list of your co-channel users within a 50-mile radius, 80 kilometers. So if you want to go to the next page, and we can go to the sharing report, and we'll go to the summary page, and we can go look at the co-channel report. Okay. On the summary page, you will see it has the EWA log number, the type of system, the parameters that were certified. If these are incorrect, you should be notifying EWA immediately, asking us to amend the application and make the necessary changes. It's showing us that the site location, the coordinates, and that this applicant is sharing with 9 other records on the frequency that will be assigned or has been recommended. Location 3 is for the mobile only, and there are 71 co-channel users or co-channel records there. So Eric, if you want to go to the next page. This is a list of the report. The report will tell you the frequencies that were recommended, your co-channel licensee, the call sign or ULS file number, and you can see that it's linked to the FCC's website. So you can click on that to get all the pertinent information right off the license to know exactly how they're using their system. It goes by distance. It goes from low to high. It shows you their type of emission, if it's analog or digital or both. It shows you if the system is conventional or trunk, if it's private or carrier, if it's shared or exclusive. So, Eric, can you click on one of those call signs so we can go see?
It doesn't go live.
It doesn't go live. Okay. That's okay. But as you can see, it is a link, and you can get the technical information right out of the FCC's ULS database. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to take them at this time. I'm going to turn the floor back over to Eric.
Okay. So let us go back to our webinar. So we went through that fairly quickly, but we wanted to give some time for some Q&A. But first of all, it's particularly interesting to us to know if this email that Cecilia went over first, what we call the e-advisory, and at the bottom of that e-advisory was a link to click on a channel sharing report, which Cecilia went over as well. We're curious if you've actually seen these. Perhaps you haven't. And we're curious if you're the one that actually would have received this. So you haven't received it. Perhaps you have, but you haven't read the emails yet. Perhaps you've read them, but just sort of scanned them quickly. Or lastly, if you've actually gotten the emails and you've clicked on the channel sharing report and you've actually looked at it. And certainly we're looking forward to providing a little bit more information about those. And please do submit any questions that you've got in the chat feature, anything specific, and we can go into that. But we'll go into a little bit more detail, but wanted to at least initially get your sense as to whether you've seen these. And our results tell us that you haven't, and that could be because you're not the person that's on the license, or you're not the one who submitted it to EWA. Perhaps you've read them, perhaps you just scanned them, and you certainly, some of you have seen the report. So that's helpful for us to understand. So one of the things that we'd like to do next is to kind of jump into some of the Q&A where we're going to tell you a little bit more information about this. We've got some information that we've put on our website. So certainly from a standpoint of learning more about this service, if you are doing filings with the EWA, your name is on the contact portion of the license, or certainly if you're the licensee and your name and email address are there, you'll see this e-advisory. You'll have the ability to click on the report. As Cecilia mentioned, those emails, those e-advisories come to you about an hour after we've submitted or transmitted your application to the FCC. The report, if you've requested it, will come overnight after you've requested it. So look for those in the future. Certainly if you'd like to dive deep into the FCC rules, we've shortened what amounts to a rather long URL from the FCC into this small piece of information, goo.gl, etc. And I suspect most of you already know where to find Part 90 rules. But those two references you're welcome to use, and certainly from a standpoint of Q&A, I see some questions rolling in, and so certainly with all of these questions, we might not get to them in time, but we will answer as many as we can. One of the first ones was submitted and said, will we have access to all of these files after the webinar? Absolutely. The slides themselves, if you'd like just that file, or the entire audio and video portion of this conference or this webinar will be available after the webinar. Give us a few hours to get it posted, and we'll push out a link to all the participants as to where that is. So one of the first questions, another question that we've got here is, why am I getting this information? Why is EWA sending this information? Mark, I'd like to toss that one into your court.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Good question. We sort of view it as EWA's responsibility as a certified frequency advisory committee to make sure we get things right on the application and the subsequent license, and as well as that there aren't any unintended consequences. Listen, it's complicated these days. 20 years ago there were 2 emission designators, and there wasn't any trunking in the VHF and 450 bands. And there was 1 emission designator, and everybody was using voice, and it was a simple world. But it's no longer simple. There are over 40 emission designators, as you heard from Cecilia, all in the same, sharing the band. There is now conventional and trunk systems, private internal systems, private carriers, centralized trunking systems, decentralized trunking systems, hybrid trunk systems, data, voice, GPS, data and voice, analog, digital, all sharing in a system. And it has been our experience, and we understand completely, that when we receive applications, we know pretty much that you know that it's a conventional or trunk system you want, but the emission designators are like key these days. And they tell us that they're analog or digital, and we know that if you put an analog system inside on a channel with like 10 digital systems, there's going to be some incompatibility issues. So we're really just trying to help the person that sold the system and the new licensee, to understand. Let's get it right. Let's make sure everybody knows what you've asked for, because we have gotten questions. I thought I had a centralized trunk system, and we go, no. You have the YG code tells you that you're operating a trunk system, but if you look at the station classes themselves, there are no FB8s, which means you do have a trunk system, but not a centralized trunk system, and you must monitor. So there's a lot of confusion with all these codes, and these are licensees. We don't expect them to understand it. We don't even expect a lot of the radio dealers to understand what all the emission designators mean, but we do. And so that when people ask us for this, we want to be crystal clear. You've asked for this, 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 and this, and that's why it's in the letter, so that there aren't any unintended consequences and everybody's clear on what they're getting a license for. And then, of course, what we think is as critical, depending on what you've asked for, There are different rules that apply. Better that you know about these rules now than having the FCC come knocking on your customer's door later. Because the worst thing that can happen is the licensee goes, oh, I didn't know I had a monitor, or I didn't know, I thought I had an exclusive system, and et cetera, et cetera. And we're just trying to make sure everybody's educated in what the process is and what the expectations are. And that's why we think every one of you, when you get this e-notice, should click on, I want to see who the people are on these channels. Because we think, who better than you all? You're a little closer. We don't know who the good guys are and the bad guys are in some of these, on some of these frequencies. You do. We don't. And we think that with that information that Cecilia went over, these are the users located on these frequencies that we certified, and they're operating these type of systems. We figure that you'll be able to manage and engineer the systems, priority channels and stuff better. And in a worst case scenario, you see some frequencies and go, oh my goodness, there's no way we should put this customer on this frequency because. And I was talking to a member earlier, and they said, well, I didn't ask for it because it was FB8s. I had all FB8s and I didn't think I needed it. And I said, well, you might want to know who's on the peripheral of your FB8s in case any of them do anything goofy, like add new sites within your service area or do other things that would encroach upon your FB8. Seems to me that would be good information. So this is really an educational process, and we think it's to help you. Well, we've done it, and it's free. We're not charging anymore. It's just more information, and we think will help align expectations and help educate your customers. That's a long-winded answer, I know, but that's why we did it.
That's good, Mark. Thank you for that. I've got another question. To whom and how often is this being sent? Cecilia, I know you touched on this in part. How often is the e-advisory sent, and to whom?
The advisory is sent to either the contact or the applicant if they provide their email address. It is sent within the hour of EWA receiving the FCC ULS file number, and they would receive that notification 24 hours after requesting the information from us.
Okay. Another question, is this for all systems that I submit an EWA files on my behalf, or what type of systems does this cover? Denise?
Yeah, this is only for new or modified and amended on fixed and mobile-only systems.
In the 150 to 512 band?
Correct.
Not in the low band, not 800, or not 900?
Correct.
Here's one I can take. Is there a cost for this? No, there's not, y'all. We want to provide this information free of charge. We want you to have this information. The only hurdle is you need to find the link that says, click here for the channel sharing report in the e-advisory. That'll come after we submit your application to the FCC. That channel sharing report will come to you overnight after your request or within 24 hours, and there is no cost at this moment. There is another question about the channel sharing report. Why aren't there as many fixed frequencies as there are mobile frequencies? So somebody was looking at that report pretty closely. Cecilia, you're our reporting expert. Why aren't there as many fixed frequencies as there are mobile frequencies?
One line is for the fixed site. They may have only asked for a fixed site with associated mobiles. They could have asked for a mobile only.
Okay.
It could be that they are asking, and yes, if it's a repeater, they may ask for talk around. So they will get both the low and the high side of that frequency in that report.
Very good.
But I mean, if it's a UHF, and for the person to ask the question, you're going to see the users on both the transmit and the receive side. Is that correct, Seal?
Correct.
Right. We're not hiding anything. And don't forget the one we shared today with you was more for illustrative purposes. We really wanted to share with you what the data would be I think if you get one of these reports, whoever asked the question, and you have any questions, comments, we are more than willing to hear your suggestions for improvement, and that'll be very helpful to us.
Here's a question. If we'd like EWA assistance to check on any pending FCC issues, what information should we provide to you? Isla, what can we take?
Well, it's not clear to me what type of issues that they might be referencing. I would recommend that anytime you would like EWA to research the FCC database, if you provide us with the ULS file number, the call sign, and a little bit of information about what it is you're looking for, and you could certainly send that to any one of these spectrum managers to start the process on. And if you want to send a little bit more detailed information, if I haven't answered your question, if you want to send an email to me, I can elaborate a little bit more on it. But it isn't really clear to me. If you're asking if EWA certified an application and you have a concern with that, certainly call us, so we will route it to the appropriate spectrum manager. But note on the letters now that the spectrum manager who processed that application and their direct dial number is on there, so that you always have a go-to person on these.
There's another question about how long will the channel sharing report be available for download. It's a good question. So as long as you've got the email that came from EWA, the e-advisory, informing you of the basic parameters of your application, you'll be able to click on that link for up to 90 days to get a channel sharing report. And I will tell you though, one click will get you that report, and you wouldn't be able to go back to that same link multiple times, just so we didn't clog up the directory with a lot of outdated information. But certainly if you ever need anything about the application that was submitted to the FCC on your behalf, you're always most welcome to contact us, and we can provide you any additional information about that.
Eric, this is Mark. Very interesting question. If you were to click it 90 days after we have received certification, received notice from the FCC that the application has been received at ULS, is it a snapshot of that early date, or does the report 90 days later accommodate licensing? I mean, the environment's changing almost on a daily basis. So 90 days after the fact, does that report reflect the 90 days, or is it a snapshot from the day we submitted the application to the FCC?
Mark, it's a very good question. You always have awesome questions, and the answer is I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that it's the information relevant solely for that particular application.
I think so too.
Regardless of any changes that have been made to the call sign days, weeks, or months down the road. But I'll verify that, and we'll push that out to the audience when we've got that confirmed. Yeah,
and the reason why I answered it that way, because if you ask 90 days later for a snapshot of data that was 90 days, that's accurate 90 days prior, I'd ask for the data sooner than later. I guess that's why I answered the question with a question.
That's a good question.
Eric, one thing I want to add to this, and one of the frequently asked questions was why I have a license and I've got 10 frequencies on there, but Cisco channel report, sharing report, doesn't list them all. And we talked about that. If we certify an application for a new system, doesn't have a call sign, you should expect to receive the co-channel report for everything that was on that license. However, when we are modifying an application to add a fixed site, for example, the information that you're going to see on there will be relevant only to that specific coordination or any line of data that was altered. So, for example, if we went in and increased the ERP on a line, but the frequencies didn't change or the coordinates didn't change, we modified that line, then they would expect to see a co-channel report for that. So if they've got 20 licensed frequencies on that license and they haven't modified any of those 20, when that report is sent, it will cover the new spectrum that was certified or the changes that we certified. So you should be cognizant of that.
Good. Very good. All right, everybody. So I do have one question here. Did I miss something? And I would say, sir or ma'am, if you joined the call after 2 p.m. Eastern, yes, you did. But you're going to be able to download this webinar afterward, so you can listen to it in its entirety. So
we're going to do further webinars too, right? So as people experience this new service, they could join prospectively of one of our future webinars on this, and if they have more questions or whatever. So we are going to do maybe 1 or 2 more, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
We'll base that we'll schedule those based on the input that we're receiving. And as Mark mentioned earlier, and Isla, we highly encourage you to contact the coordinator whose name is at the bottom of that email, who performed performed the certification and submitted this to the FCC. They're your first point of reference, but anybody here at EWA at customerservice@enterprisewireless.org can take your questions and provide you some information. So Cecilia, Denise, Isla, Mark, thank you for your perspectives this afternoon. Mark, if there's no further input from you, I think we'll start wrapping this up.
No, again, at the risk of being redundant for everybody in the call, this is to help you, and you're, again, so if it doesn't help you to the maximum extent, or your feedback and suggestions for improvement are solicited. And I know it's a little complicated and it's a lot of data, but better getting it from us and then having any calls from the FCC or whatever. So we're here to help you, and we're glad to do this, and we look forward to your comments.
Very good. Everybody, thank you for joining. Correspond with us if you would, please. Let us know what's on your mind. Let us know how you think about the service. You'll be seeing these, and we appreciate your time, and everybody have a great day. Bye for now.